Adam, thank you. We are only 9 days away from the South Carolina Republican primary and the candidates making their final pushes to voters here in South Carolina.
Former President Donald Trump spent his Valentine's Day in North Charleston at a Get Out the Vote rally, and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley gearing up for a rally this weekend in Irmo.
Joining us now are our expert political analysts, Joel Sawyer and Antoine Seawright. We are almost near the 24th, and the questions are still lingering. I still have to ask. Nikki Haley is still not popular here in South Carolina. Voters are saying in the polls that they're choosing Trump.
Yeah, not as popular as she wants to be, for sure.
Right.
I mean, you know, she's got to get, you know, as two candidates, she got to get 50% to win it. I mean, I think Antoine and I both agree. We've said for a few weeks now that winning is probably not in the cards for her in South Carolina, but she wants to show two things. She wants to show that she can move numbers. All of the polls have shown her around 30% so far, so she wants to show that after campaigning and really working hard in the state and having ad buys on the air, that she can move that number some. And two, she wants to keep it close. She wants to not be embarrassed in her home state in order to be able to go into Super Tuesday credibly.
The challenge with that, Joel, the Winthrop University poll, best school east of this side of heaven, came out yesterday.
Yes, little bias here on the set.
Came out yesterday and had a 36-point difference. And if she does not perform within single digits, then you may as well cancel the race going forward, and Trump will ultimately be the nominee, which most people expect to happen anyway. But I think the Haley strategy going forward is planting a flag for whatever is next. The former president will start his criminal trial next month. Who knows what the outcome may mean going forward, and who knows what the long-term implications of that trial may mean. Or for Haley and others who are thinking deep into their Republican future, what happens in a post-Donald Trump era within the Republican Party? I contend the party will not shift backwards, and so Trumpism will probably be the order of the day going forward, like the Tea Party movement was, so we'll see what happens.
And okay, so Haley keeps talking about she kind of just wants to close the gap, like you were saying, wants to keep improving. What would you say numbers-wise would be considered a win for her?
That's a great question. I mean, I think one thing I would point out about the polls is that when you look at when the polling period, when they took place, is that the polling period really, those ended at the tail end of when her big substantial ad buy in South Carolina started. So she's on air with what you would call a closing message right now that is about 2/3 negative on Trump, about 1/3 positive on herself. Now, look, I think that she has to be in the low to mid 40s to credibly claim enough juice to go forward to Super Tuesday. I don't know exactly what that number is, but if she's still, if she's in the 30s now, I mean, it's got to improve substantially from that.
The problem is second place does not mean anything in the Republican preference primary
In South Carolina.
Especially the way this race is shaped up. She literally lost to whatever the no name was in Nevada. Trump has ran up the tape in Iowa and New Hampshire. We saw Nevada, now South Carolina. So it becomes, where is oxygen for her political survival going forward? And so it becomes a math problem. And I think donors are going to have to decide whether they keep dumping their money in a deep, dark political hole, or whether they preserve their resources for whatever happens next.
Yeah, Antoine's right. At the end of the day, it's a delegate race, right? And like, if you don't win any of the first three contests and you don't do well on Super Tuesday, it's all over but the crying at that point.
Numbers do matter. We want to play some of the speech shots, some of the sound that from former President Donald Trump when he visited North Charleston yesterday, and also from Nikki Haley when she was in Bamberg over the weekend. Let's take a listen.
The primary is Saturday, February 24th, but in person. Early voting is underway right now, so go and vote. I think we're going to have a big victory. It's looking very good, looking very strong. In fact, a lot of people are saying, what the hell is she wasting her time for? And I agree with that.
I know the American people are not going to vote for a convicted criminal. They're not going to do it.
Alrighty, so that's a little bit of what they had to say. That interview actually aired on the Today Show with Nikki Haley earlier this week, so that wasn't from her visit in her hometown of Bamberg. Still, I do want to ask about that interview. During that interview, Nikki Haley was asked which states she believes that she can win, obviously with South Carolina not being one of them. She never answered the question directly, but she just redirected to say she's in it for the long haul. What do you take from that, Joel, when it comes to does she really think that she still can win the White House at this point?
I mean, look, it's you have to have, I talked from the very beginning about Nikki Haley having a narrow path and that path getting more and more and more and more narrow all the time. If you don't win South Carolina, if you win no states on Super Tuesday, you don't have a path anymore, right? And so I think what she's trying to do is she's trying to manage expectations. Now, as Antoine pointed out, you look at these various, criminal trials and legal issues that that former President Trump has. One thing that she's right about is that those are going to wear on him very much in the general. In the Republican primary, though, people don't seem to care. Every time he's got indicted, his numbers have gone up.
Yeah.
So.
And I think the challenge for Haley is, first of all, she has a colorful history of not answering questions when it comes to the
All
press.
politicians.
but Nikki has mastered that, particularly when she was here as governor. But I think the funny thing about the two interviews, you compare the two. He had Haley leaning in, trying to be serious, trying to speak directly to voters, and he had Trump doing theatrical acts, taking jabs at Haley, and his numbers continue to grow up. I think that says a lot about where we are politically, particularly if you look at the Republican Party, is that voters are choosing to go after political theater versus someone who's trying to lean in on policy. And I believe that Haley contributed to that because she was an UN ambassador for Trump, endorsed him, and committed to endorsing him if he is the nominee going forward.
All righty. Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much.
thank
We
you
look
so
forward to talking to you. I wanted to sneak one more question in, but that is our time, and we'll have to get on that the next time. But we were going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with much more news and weather.